Hey guys, it's me, Lauren Cadillac, aka OD Cadillac. I'm sorry, my office is fucking filthy. Nothing wants to work for me. The camera in my studio is not working. It was working yesterday. This is going to be real fun, guys. I'm so not happy. Good morning, Nene. God, my office is fucking messy as shit. Sorry. Those boxes were supposed to be, it was raining yesterday. So those boxes are going down. Hi, No Face. I'm not doing great right now. I'm really irritated. I have a whole studio for this, y'all, and I have this fancy camera, and it does not want to work. And I was all ready, and then the camera said no. Now I'm in my office, which is filthy, not camera ready. So, needless to say, I'm frustrated this morning. I'm very frustrated this morning. The craziest thing is, yesterday I walk into the studio, I click a link, I'm on Fox Orlando 35. Boom, everything works, everything's perfect. Today, the screen dies, this happens, and it's like anytime you leave me alone with electronics, they will fail. Give me a minute to find my breath. Been doing a lot of yoga. Trying to find my breath. Bangs are out of sorts. I swear to God, guys. I can't. Okay. I'm trying to breathe. I'm sorry. All right. Here we go. So, besides Karen Reed, Stefan Stearns, who's a sicko, and Shannon Sharpe, who's also, as it turns out, a sicko, we have, oh, by the way, I'm wearing earrings Tavonda gave me. Thank you, Tavonda. I don't think you're here, but thank you so much. His earrings are gorgeous. We did have an update on Diddy, but it was like filed yesterday, so I didn't have time to contemplate it. Anyhow, now that our boy Brian Steele is on the team, they did a motion to exclude the Cassidy video and a motion to exclude some like iPhone videos that I'm not necessarily sure what those videos are. Also, sorry, I have like an air vent right over me and my mic isn't in here because, so please ignore all the noise. Anyhow, I guess there's like iPhone videos, and in their motion they said like some of them they'll shoot like zoom in on someone's shoes or something, so you don't actually get the whole picture, and that's part of their argument that, you know, without the full picture it's not good evidence and it should be excluded. All right, so that hasn't been heard yet, but we'll see. Hey Hippieista, good to see you. We will see what the judge says about that. Maybe the Cassidy video gets excluded, but in that situation, I don't think it would. I mean, yeah, it'll have a little effect on the trial, but like, I'm sure the Fed has plenty of evidence without the CNN video. They raided like 3 of his homes. So I'm sure that the federal government's prosecution team is not completely relying on the Cassidy video. But in the Stefan Stearns case, the government is relying almost wholly on this cloud data. So I think I talked about this case once briefly here, but I'm going to go like deep dive. I don't know if you guys remember hearing about Madeline Soto. She's a 13-year-old girl who was living in the Orlando area, I think in Kissimmee or something. And she lived with her mother. Her mother rented out rooms in their apartment townhouse thing. It's in an apartment complex, but my understanding was it's actually like a 2-story townhouse. The mother was dating this man named Stefan Stearns, and he had been dating the mom, not dating the mom, but always remained close. Then one day, Stefan drops Maddie off at school. She never comes home. The school calls the mom, like, yo, where is she? And mom calls the police. Search ensues. They end up finding her body dumped somewhere. And Stefan Stearns was the last person to see her as he dropped her off, right? So they started looking into him. Well, as it turns out, when the police were doing their investigation, he handed them their phone. He let them look through the phone, all this stuff, right? The phone, if you guys recall, the phone had been accidentally factory reset just after midnight, the night that Maddie went to sleep and never, well, or allegedly went to school. They also found footage out of like the apartment complex's surveillance video that when Maddie was in the car, she looked like she was like slumped over, sleeping, drugged, something like that. Right, like unconscious. So when the police looked through his phone initially, like there's nothing in there because he just did a factory reset and he specifically did not log back into his Gmail account. So here's what happens if you have an Android, which if you don't have an Android, you need to switch, okay? Because iPhone's out here giving, Apple's out here giving everyone every detail of everything. Stop with that shit. Move to Android. Okay. So on your Android phone, you can have several Google accounts, of course, as many Gmail accounts as you want, whatever. If you use the phone, you save people to Gmail, you do this, you do this. When you get a new phone, you just log into that Gmail account, that Google account, and like all your shit will populate in the phone, everything that was related to that account. And it'll almost be as if you didn't do a factory reset, right? Unless you had stuff that was saved to the phone. But as long as you were using that Google Cloud, then it's real easy. You just put in your little Gmail account, boom, all your stuff is up. But he didn't do that. He in 24-hour span almost, he did not re-sign in. He factory reset, but did not re-sign in. Now, as an Android phone user myself, I find that to be incredibly odd. It is really hard to even kind of use your phone or have any kind of quality experience without a connection to that account. Okay, so then the cops end up keeping his phone, rushing to the Cellbrite guy, downloading the data, and then finding Stearns' cloud. In his cloud are thousands, not 10, not 15, not 100, not 400, of photos of him and Maddie, or him or Maddie, or anything like that, where she is being compromised. It is believed that there is a link between those photos and I think videos to an underground child sex video watching gross rape. Mind you, during the course of the investigation, they found out that the mother of Maddie would often sleep downstairs in her own bed and allow her 13, well, she had just turned 13, so 12, allow her 12, 11, 10, 9, 8-year-old daughter to sleep in this bed, in a bed with this grown man who is not her father. A grown man who is not her father is sleeping in a bed with her every night. He had moved back to his parents in another town, but he kept continuing to visit there where they were staying so that Maddie could sleep better. Okay. So Stefan Stearns has public defenders. One of them's really good, one of them's really bad. The public defenders have made a suppression motion and an argument that the obtaining of the phone was illegal, and therefore all the evidence that came after the illegal possession of the phone is fruit of the poisonous tree and needs to be excluded at trial. Okay, so in this case, in contrast to Diddy, if they can't play the Cassidy video on Diddy, I think they still have enough evidence. In this case, I don't know why they bifurcated his trial. So this trial is about the child nasty, horrible, disgusting stuff. And in the next trial in September is the capital murder charge. I will be going to the September trial. All right, or at least part of it. This trial I'm not going to go to because the judge actually just extended it way out to June. All right. Blue Nettie says the mom should be charged with neglect. I have thought long and hard about that. I think that's going to be difficult to prove that the mom herself was not like a victim. A lot of these chomos will be out and they'll see a cute little girl and then they'll go get cozy with her mom because they know her mom creates access. If you ever have had the chance to read the book Lolita, that pretty much describes that setup, okay? And so these true predators go prey on the mom too. And so in a way, the mother is a victim of her own. Now, I don't know if that's the case here, but I'm thinking that's why she has not yet been prosecuted. They have not brought charges against the mom yet. And I think that might be why. Okay. So in this case, this is the child nasty pictures and videos. We don't do that shit. We don't even say that shit out loud here. We'll say shit, but we aren't. Ugh. I told my daughter, some man does some like that to you, I'm finding him. He is digging the basement that I will then proceed to torture him in. That's it. That's it. Don't touch my baby. But see, these predators, they go after moms who aren't like me, right? Like this mom, Madeline's mom, she was using Xanax and this. Like, she's one of those people that has a bad day and goes to the psychiatrist and they give her drugs, right? Like she's on every psychiatric pill, like everything. She's not a mom like me. A mom like me, I don't think a predator is going to try to prey on me because they ain't going to work. But there are moms out there who are really wrapped up in their mental issues or whatever it is. And, you know, maybe they're not strong enough. They don't have the esteem, whatever. That is this situation. That is who that man preyed on. Okay. So in this case, without that cloud file that has an overwhelming amount of evidence on it, and I'm talking thousands overwhelming, like on their face, you did this. Without that, the prosecution really doesn't have much of a case, okay? So the prosecution is going to really fight hard to keep that evidence in, and the defense is going to fight hard to get that evidence out. So they had their suppression hearing this week. I was actually a commentator on Fox 35 Orlando yesterday, and we talked about this hearing, and we're going to watch a little bit of an excerpt from the hearing. Bear with me, because I'm not in my studio, because the universe is mad at me. Okay, here we go. This is one of the cops that was at the house. This is the one that took the phone. This woman can amazingly speak without moving her mouth. Like she's a natural ventriloquist. It is fascinating to me. Here we go.
February of 2024, what was your assignment?
I was assigned to the sex crimes unit.
Are you still assigned to that particular unit now?
Yes, ma'am.
How long have you been in that unit?
3 years and 2 months.
Were you working in your capacity as a detective in that unit on February 27th of 2024?
Yes.
Did you become involved in the investigation into the missing juvenile named Madeline Soto?
Yes.
How did you?
Okay, she's moving her mouth right now.
I was tasked to assist the primary detective at the time, Detective Hunt, with canvassing.
Barely moves those damn lips.
About, do you hold the phone in a way to allow others to see what is on the phone?
Yes.
Where is Mr. Stearns at as you are looking at the phone?
Directly standing next to me.
And initially, the interaction and how the cell phone comes out, you bring up looking at maps in the phone.
Correct.
Are you familiar?
Okay, I'm gonna stop right there. At this point, Stearns is a suspect, right? I don't know that he was necessarily detained, but his attorneys actually get into that. This woman did tell him to stay out of his car and to stay nearby. So he certainly had a feeling of being detained. If you've seen my videos about those type of things, if you are detained, you now have a right to an attorney and all of your constitutional rights kick in, which means that she needs either your permission or a warrant to search your phone, right? So in this particular case, they are searching, they're searching. He Stearns certainly felt like he was being detained and like he had no choice in the matter. And that's a point that we'll see the defense kind of argue.
Familiar with the type
Your
of
question.
phone that the defendant had?
I am not.
Do you also inquire as to taking a picture of, quote unquote, your history, the defendant's history? Do you remember that?
Yes.
And that's also encompassed in the audio recorded interview.
Correct.
Okay, so she's taking pictures of his
Does
history,
the defendant
which we know he has hardly any history because he just factory reset the damn thing.
communicate to you any limitation on what it is that you're doing?
He does not.
Does the defendant ever
The duty is not on the citizen to give limitations.
attempt, either verbally, physically, or in any type of way, to cease the search of the phone?
He does not.
These people ask their questions so slowly. Guys.
After you look at the maps, the history, what did you see? What did you notice in what you saw on the phone?
I noticed that he had mentioned that he uses Google Maps for basically everything to check locations, the time, places open and closed. And I noticed that on his Google history, it was very minimal. There was not a lot of traveling that was consistent to what he had originally said to both Detective Acosta and I. So then after that, I went to his call history and I noticed that there was also not a lot of information on his call history.
And this was after you mentioned looking at his history.
Correct.
And during this entire time, did the defendant ever cease or withdraw his consent, either verbally or physically?
He does not.
So they're saying he consented. But I think that's a little.
Interaction with the cell phone. Do you keep your cell phone?
No, I do.
Where, Mr. Stearns and Detective Acosta are?
Yes.
Did anything about the circumstances surrounding this interaction with Mr. Stearns, either the location, the number of people, where people are standing, did any of that change?
No.
Was Mr. Stearns standing in similar places before you left?
Yes.
Was Mr. Stearns still freely and out of handcuffs?
Yes.
At approximately 7:57, do you again ask Mr. Stearns to unlock the phone?
Yes.
How does that happen? Explain that process.
He again enters the code and hands me the phone.
Okay. So I don't know about y'all, but if someone is looking through my phone and I open it for them, and I put in the code and I hand the phone to them, that is me consenting to them going through that damn phone. If I didn't want them to go through it, I wouldn't have entered the code, right? So I think that's pretty compelling for prosecution. And y'all know I don't like the death penalty, but in this case, I'm glad Florida has one.
At some point, do you bring up the lack of call history to them?
I do.
What was the defendant's explanation?
He said he had accidentally factory reset his phone.
Okay, and that's not hearsay.
After your interaction with
phone.
him on the phone, 8 p.m., 7:59, 8 p.m. on February 27th of 2024.
Correct.
So she told him she was going to keep the phone.
After this interaction with him, did you secure anything else?
No.
Other than the cell phone, did you secure anything else, or
Well, I did ask him to refrain from going back in his vehicle.
his vehicle meaning the limousine?
Yes.
Was Mr. Stearns able to enter and exit Jennifer Soto's vehicle during the time between your two interviews with him?
Yes.
Was he free to walk about?
Yes.
Did you or Detective
So those questions are because the prosecution wants to show that he was not in fact detained.
Acosta remain where Mr. Stearns and Ms. Soto were?
No.
What were you doing between your two interviews?
After speaking with Stefan Stearns the first time, Detective Acosta and I went to the front of the apartment complex to speak with management and ask them to review their surveillance.
After doing these additional tasks, do you speak to Stephen Stearns the second time?
Yes.
This is approximately 12:15 in the morning on February 28th, right?
Yes.
Was Mr. Stearns handcuffed?
He was not.
Had his movements been restricted in any way by you during your conversation?
No.
Were you wearing the same clothes that you had worn 12 hours earlier?
I was.
Who was with you when you spoke to Mr. Stearns?
Detective Acosta.
At any point in time during either of your, the defendant provide you verbally with the
Cross-examination.
Okay. So you're in the cross of it.
So your interactions with Stephen Stearns,
This man is actually a decent attorney. The woman that's with him, she's been licensed 2 years less than me, and she's trash. Like, I looked it up. I said, I can't believe she's been a public defender since 2013. That's like 12 years of courtroom experience. I cannot believe how she functioned in the courtroom.
they were audio recorded, right?
Correct.
Okay, they weren't video recorded?
No.
Okay. And let's paint that picture. When you arrived on scene, you said that it was you and another detective present, right?
Correct.
Actually, I think it would have been 3 detectives, right? You, Acosta, and Hunt?
Hunt was already on scene. Detective Acosta and I arrived later.
Okay, so 3 detectives now on scene.
Correct.
Okay. And alongside those detectives, you said there were patrol deputies, right?
Yes.
And the Orange County Sheriff's Office?
I don't recall if it was us or Kissimmee.
Were they wearing-
Yes.
Did they have their badges?
Yes.
Did they have their badges?
Yes.
Did you have their badge?
I did.
And did you have their badge?
I did.
Okay. And when you arrive on scene, you said that you first went to talk to Detective Hunt, right?
Yes.
Okay. And then afterwards, at one point you start talking to.
We know.
Okay. So at what point, let me ask you this one. How did you get outside of the house?
I don't know. I wasn't there when he was outside.
Do you understand how to get outside? Right?
I did.
Because that was being secured for search and kit, right?
At that time, I just asked him to refrain from going back in his vehicle.
Okay, so you didn't even tell him it's for search?
Not at that time. I wasn't sure what we had at the moment.
Okay. And then when you're talking with Mr. Stearns, you kind of give us a general overview that you said that you consented to searching his phone, right?
Yes.
Okay. If I dig through your entire phone at this point, right?
I did not.
Okay. And then when you get to the next question, it's do you mind if I take a picture of his history, right?
Yes.
Okay. Not take a picture of his lock screen?
No.
Not take a picture of his home screen?
No.
Not take a picture of his call history?
It was his history.
Not take a picture of his emails?
I did not.
Not take a picture of the entirety of his phone, just his history, right?
Correct.
Okay. And then when you get to the next thing, you say, is it okay, let me make sure this is right. Is it okay if I go in your settings real quick? I just want to see if you're logged onto your Google, right?
Yes.
Okay, so the point the defense is making is you asked him permission every step of the way until you took the phone. And then as fruit of the poisonous tree, everything you got because you had the phone, which is they were finally able to access the Google Drive because they had the phone. Everything that came from the Google Drive is fruit of the poisonous tree. For some reason, and this is bizarre to me, for some reason, the judge is not going to make his ruling on the suppression until 3 days before the motions in limine are due and 17 days before trial starts. And I talked about that on Fox 35 Orlando yesterday. I think that's really bizarre. I don't know why it would take him that long to make this decision. I could see like a week, I could see 2 weeks even, but I don't know. That's really strange to me. Okay, so I hope that we are learning here today that grown men need to stay away from children that aren't theirs. Of course, if they're your kids, yeah. But stay away in like a linking up kind of way, right? Like it's one thing to be a mentor. It's a great thing to be an uncle. It's great. I always had wonderful like male role models in my business and at work. And I loved that. They're older than me. They helped teach me, but we never, right? And that's where oh, Chairman, by the way, I wanted to address this. Through this Stefan Stearns case, I have learned that these real sickos who like a certain age range of child, and then when the child ages out, so they believe because Maddie turned 13 that she was no longer desirable to Stefan. Hey, Tavana, I got my earrings on today. Good to see you. Hey, Purple Paradox. Everyone's here today. What's up, y'all? Okay, so these men will groom the mom, groom the child, and then when the child reaches a certain age, be done with her. Disgusting. So we're going to segue into teenagers and grown-ass men. Okay. When I heard about the Shannon Sharpe lawsuit and I heard about the accusations in there, I wasn't actually surprised at all. And some of it sounded somewhat familiar. Many men really want to put it in your behind. And a lot of them don't understand the word no. And that it's really crazy. It's wild. So guys, think about what comes out of there. Like, why do you want to put something in there when you know what kind of stuff comes out of there? Okay. So Shannon Sharpe, a 50-something-year-old man, has grown-ass children, probably a grandfather. I'm not 100% sure on that. Looks like one of the door knockers from the Labyrinth. I'm going to look that up, y'all. This man. Okay. When I was in the Philippines, I told my ex that he looks like this door knocker. And my ex was like, no, he doesn't. I think it's just because they were so alike. He was defending his dude. Here we go. Look at this door knocker, y'all. Does this one here not look like Shannon Sharpe to you? Like, when I see Shannon Sharpe's face, I see this door knocker, y'all. Door knocker is not attractive. Okay. So Shannon Sharpe, old, ugly, nasty self, goes to the gym. Oh, by the way, guys, this girl who sued in Nevada, she's the second girl to sue in the same fact pattern. Same words. I'm going to do things to you so no man ever wants you again. Those same words he used. Both girls quoted him. This old, ugly, trying to be young. What man over 50 wears stretch pants in public? What man over 50 has them tight jeans on and tight? Oh, is so gross to me. Ugh. Why are you dressed like a child? Here's the thing. Y'all already know I am 43. Okay, we celebrated my 43rd birthday together. I do not mind being 43. In fact, I'm happy to be 43 because I'm not in my 20s anymore. And things were really weird when I was in my 20s. In my 40s, I know who I am. I know how I handle things. I know what I'll put up with and I won't put up with. And I wouldn't wear the clothes this man wears. Look at this. Hold on. This guy. These pants, y'all. Hold on. This man is in his 50s sporting these tight ass pants. Now, Usman, Usman, he's like 40 now. My ex knew him, grew up with him. By the time you're in your 50s, you got your thigh, the thigh. First of all, it shouldn't be so tight on the thigh. It should fit smoothly on the thigh and then go straight down from there. That's how a pant leg should go for a person over 40. There are some men out there who just give me the creeps. Like, I see them and they creep me out. Bill Clinton. I'm trying to think who else. There's been some I met in person. Turns out they were like cheating on their wives. Shannon Sharpe's one of those guys. I see his face. I'm like, ooh, there's something icky about him. Plus, he dresses like a teenager. Okay. So all these people, when this first comes out, are like, oh, I don't believe her. She's on OnlyFans. Here's the thing. A 19-year-old sex worker is a 19-year-old sex worker because she had a bad childhood. Nobody who has an incredibly healthy, loving, good parents type childhood is doing it on a camera for money at 19. If she's on the poll, she had a terrible childhood. She was probably abused, probably molested. At 19, you're still in that. It takes you well into your 30s to get over that crap. Now, Shannon, he should be over that shit, right? He's in his 50s. He should be in the easy years of his life. I know who I am. I make good money. Let me hang out with my grandkids. That's where I'm going to be at 50. I might not have grandkids by then, but who knows? Instead, he's preying on 19-year-olds at the gym, staring them down while they work out, pressuring them into taking his number. I already know. When I was 5 years old, I was on an airplane flying to go see my grandparents. Between these two huge black men, okay? Huge. One of them didn't say a word to me. The other goes, don't you know who I am? I am a 5-year-old. I have blonde hair and pigtails. I am in kindergarten. How the fuck would I know who this man is? How would I know that? They put me between these men because I was tiny and they were huge. So, like, how is a white girl from the burbs who's literally only 5, like an actual literal child, gonna know who the fuck you are? So, of course, I was like, no. I'm sure that was an ego bruise. He turns and says, I'm the refrigerator. Now, I know who the refrigerator is at this time. This is, the Bears in the early 80s. I know who the refrigerator is. But I don't know who the refrigerator. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm familiar. My dad talked about him. We saw him play, but I don't know who the fuck you are. That ego is the ego Shannon Sharpe has. That ego is Shannon Sharpe's ego. If we got on a plane at 5 years old from the burbs, little pigtails, looking like Goldilocks, Shannon Sharpe would say, don't you know who I am? No. Yuck. That's so bizarre. Like, I don't walk around telling people, don't you know who I am? Gross. Fucking weirdos. So then this guy coerces her into starting a relationship with them, says they're exclusive. Of course, that stupid sex tape that came out on Instagram comes out. She finds out they're not exclusive. He's been taking advantage of her booty hole more than once. She's not happy about it. Then he's like, well, let me release the text. Just the maturity of all maturity. I'll release the text. All the text tell me is that you're in a BDSM, which means you should know about consent, because I know that community knows about consent. I'm not part of that community, but I am aware that community knows and lives by consent. So don't tell me, oh, we're being, So she says, oh, okay. Okay, you want to release our private text? Let me release this clip. All right, I'm going to share my screen so you can hear the sound. I don't know if it'll work. She said, let me share the receipts. Okay.
That he at one time had a sexual relationship with. It's an explosive lawsuit where the football great is accused of raping this woman on multiple occasions. Now, yesterday we played for you an exclusive audio clip, a phone conversation that Shannon and his accuser had. And now today we've gotten our hands on a new audio clip where Shannon once again seems to physically threaten the woman. Take a listen.
Coming to LA tomorrow?
Yes.
Well, I don't know why you want to go out.
Don't worry about it, Daddy.
Okay, right there. She says, I don't know why you want to go out. Instead of being a grown-up and saying, oh, well, I want to do XYZ, blah, 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 or, explain why, like a fucking grown man should, he goes, don't worry about it. Was I dating Shannon Sharpe? Like, it sounds just like oh, don't worry about it. Oh, my God. How mature. That's exactly what I expect out of the 50-year-old in the room. Get out of here.
Well, I'm not really interested in getting choked, so I guess we're going.
Yeah. I might choke you in public. Big black guy choke small white woman.
It's not a good...
That is not kink. That is a threat. I may choke you in public. Big black man chokes small white woman. First of all, she's not a woman. She's a teenager. Okay? Her brain is not even fully developed. She's a fucking child. Secondly, you're disgusting. That's a threat. That is a threat.
Look, Shannon.
How come the 19-year-old is the one who says, dude, that's not really a good look? How come the 19-year-old has, like, the forethought?
Not a good look that you did what you did to me.
So yeah, as the fuck does that mean? As the grown-up in the relationship, he has the duty to be better. Literally, he has to be better than the teenager. He's immature. He is not crazy, Nene. No, he is not. He is a fucking spoiled and entitled brat because he's been a jock his whole life. He's been given everything he's ever wanted. When he's in college, all the women want him. They don't want you because you're attractive or intelligent or have really anything going for you. They want you because you're a jock and they think they can secure a paycheck. And that's really all he could be to anyone. I knew that guy was awful when I was told he's like so proud of being a bachelor in his 50s. Like, guys, marriage benefits men. It really doesn't benefit women. We really don't need it. We can do everything. We can hire people to do the things. Marriage benefits men. It keeps you grounded, makes you think about something besides your own ego. This guy. Oh, and Monique warned him. Cat Williams warned him. Out here taking advantage of children. Oh, by the way, he offered her $10 million to not actually say anything. Now, in a court of law, you cannot discuss prior offers of settlement. Like, that's not allowed to be brought up in court. And it can't help show, guilt or innocence or liability. But in the court of public opinion, it can. And over here in this court, if this man is going to hand her $10 million, like, to shut her up, he knows he motherfucking did it. He knows he's an adult and she's damn near a child. Sure, we all said, oh, when you're 18, you're an adult. But we didn't mean it like that. If this were my child, and now we're Shannon Sharpe, I'm not going to put out the threat. I just want everyone to know, stay away from my kids. I am a woman of my word. I do what I say I'm going to do, period. My kids. But as a mom, my 19-year-old, hell no, you're not going to treat her that way. The fuck? Tell her you're going to choke her in public. Ugh. You are grown. Act and do better. All these people in my age group, Tavana, I'm sure you run into this too. I've done all this work, done all this therapy, try to figure out how to fix, past the childhood bullshit. I'm into this. I figured this out. I learned how to deal with these things. we're the men that are doing the same thing. Why do men not value their mental health and growth? Why don't you want to grow up? What's wrong? What's wrong with growing up? It's actually kind of cool. It's like kind of nicer over here, if you ask me. I had ice cream for dinner the other day. Like, being grown up is awesome. I know, Tawana, they don't care. I don't understand why there's no commitment to growth. Okay, I'm going to turn on some of this Karen Reed cross-examination. This witness is Jen McCabe's best friend. If you remember, Jen McCabe was one of the women. She's one of the women who's with Karen, where Karen's like, did I hit him? Did I hit him? Okay, Tawana, your daughter is 25. Yeah, it would be up. My daughter's 12. But until she's like 30, don't. Just don't. Stay away. Stay away. When she hits her 30s, I know she'll fend for herself in her 20s, right? But I'm coming for you if you do anything to her. When she's in her 30s, I'll let her go for them. Unless she wants my help. Of course, I'm always here to pitch in. Some good old classic revenge. All right, so we're going to segue to Karen Reed. I'm going to start this cross-examination, and then I have to get up and have a comfort break. So you're just going to see my screen blank. This woman eventually on this day, in fact, says that what she said was not technically true.
Robert, how are you?
Good morning.
Under questioning by Mr. Brennan, you talked about a number of times that you have spoken to the DA's office or some member of the DA's office. I'd like to ask you a couple of questions about that.
Sure.
How many times in total do you think you've spoken to a representative of the district attorney's office?
I don't have a number.
Would you say it's more than a dozen?
Yes,
Would you say it's more than 50?
maybe around there.
Okay.
Maybe less.
And who are the folks, Ms. Roberts, that you have spoken to at the DA's office?
Steve Nelson,
Okay.
the victim advocate, Yuri Buchanan, who's a state police officer, and the DA, Michael Morrissey.
And what was the, I want to take those in order, and two of those are at the DA's office. One of those is not, Yuri Buchanan is not at the DA's office. He's actually a Massachusetts State Police officer, is that right?
Yes.
Okay, let's take those in order. How many times would you say you've spoken to Mr. Nelson? If you give me a thumbnail.
I don't know, maybe 30, 40.
Okay, have you received what you would consider to be updates on the progress of the case?
I would ask questions, and he would give me very broad answers.
Okay, were your questions ever prompted by conversations that you had with your friend, Ms. McCabe, Jen McCabe?
Sometimes Jen would say, could you ask Steve this? Because I had a rapport with Steve.
Okay, were those conversations by text message or phone calls or both?
I would usually text him.
Okay, what about the conversations with Mr. Morrissey, the elected district attorney? What were the circumstances under which you contacted Mr. Morrissey?
Well, during the course of this trial, the witnesses have been harassed.
That's not my question. Objection.
But I'm answering your question.
Hold on. Let's see. I'm going to sustain the objection. Next question.
Thank you. Were you phoning him? Were you meeting him? Were you texting him? That's my question. The circumstances of the communication itself.
I phoned the office asking for a meeting, had a meeting, and then he left a voicemail at some point and texted me and said, I just left you a voicemail.
Okay. Was that the extent of your conversations with Mr. Morrissey, the elected DA?
I had one other meeting with other witnesses and the DA.
And turning to Yuri Buchanan, what were the logistics? I'll use that word in some circumstances. What were the logistics of you contacting Yuri Buchanan? Was it by phone? Was it in-person meetings, text messages, or all of the above?
All of the above.
How many times would you say that you've spoken with Yuri Buchanan?
Spoken or communicated?
Sorry, good point. Communicated with.
Probably 20.
Okay. When was the last time? Actually, let me ask you a different question. Have you ever met with Mr. Brennan before your testimony today?
Yes.
What was the circumstance of that meeting?
Going over my testimony from the last trial and sort of just asking questions on what might come this time. Would I be cross-examined? I wasn't last time. Just sort of, all the things went through my testimony.
Okay. When was that meeting?
I don't know. In the last couple of weeks. I don't know.
So if you don't realize it, they're trying to kind of outline that the DA has heavily influenced these witnesses and that the stories have changed kind of every single time.
Where was the meeting?
At the DA's office.
Who else was there?
Different times that I would meet with him. Steve Nelson would be there. One time, Brian Tully was there. Mr. Brennan's assistant.
I'm sorry?
Mr. Brennan's assistant.
Okay.
I don't know. Adam Lally and Laura McLaughlin.
Were those meetings, you said there were two meetings? Or did I misunderstand you?
Yeah, I think there were two.
Okay. Were those close in time to one another? You mentioned 2 weeks ago. Were those both 2
I
weeks?
said a few weeks ago, but the other meeting was just before I was going to testify.
Meaning, what, yesterday, the day before?
Last week.
Was that also at the DA's office?
Yes, it was.
Were you shown anything at that meeting?
Was I shown anything?
Videos, testimony, transcripts?
No.
Reports?
No.
Nothing?
I don't think so.
Okay.
We went over my testimony on the screen. And then I just talked about my testimony from the last time.
Okay. When you say you went over your testimony on screen, what do you mean?
We watched my testimony from the first trial on a TV screen.
Okay, so you were shown something. You were shown a video of your prior testimony.
Yes.
So you're lying now. She said, no, I was shown nothing. We watched this. They call them TV shows, right? Show.
So I'd like to see counsel at sidebar for just a minute, please.
This judge is biased as hell, y'all. I do not think for 1 minute that this judge will be able to.
May I, Your Honor?
Yes.
Thank you. Other than watching your testimony, were you shown anything else? Transcripts, videos that you may have seen today, dashcam videos, anything like that?
I don't think so.
Okay.
I don't think I was shown anything.
Okay. Did you discuss other parts of your prior testimony?
Yes.
Okay. What was discussed concerning your prior testimony and how it would impact how you testified today on direct examination?
Mr. Brennan had just asked me, can you just tell me what happened? So I told him the story verbally.
Okay. Anything come up about specific instances of how you were going to testify today?
No.
Or yesterday?
No.
Okay. I want to talk to you a little bit, Ms. Roberts, about the video that you were shown by Mr. Brennan. It's the dashcam video of Officer Sharpe. I'm not sure if you know which officer that is.
No, I don't.
It's the one that you've been watching.
Okay.
That dashcam that shows your car in the foreground.
Yep.
I'd like to ask you a couple of quick questions about your memory of that incident and then perhaps show you the video depending on what the answer is.
Sure.
Do you remember when the officer first arrived, you and Ms. Reed specifically were at Mr. O'Keefe's body?
Yes.
Where was Ms. McCabe at that moment?
She was there too, but she was waving down the first responders because it was dark out and he couldn't see us. He had a spotlight.
You and Ms. Reed were both providing some level of CPR, some level of life-saving efforts.
Yes, as was Ms. McCabe.
What was Ms. McCabe doing?
When I was doing chest compressions and Karen was doing mouth to mouth, Jen was either on the phone with 911 or handing me baby blankets.
Okay.
At some point, she did take over doing chest compressions because I asked her to.
Okay. So Ms. Reed was focused on Mr. O'Keefe's head, face area.
Correct.
You were focused on the chest.
Correct.
Ms. McCabe was, at some point at least, she called 911 or dialed 911.
Yes.
When Ms. McCabe dialed 911 and was on the phone with 911, isn't it true that she was actually in a vehicle at the time?
That is not true.
She was outside?
She was outside.
That's your memory?
Yes.
Okay. Have you heard the 911 tape of that call?
Yes.
Okay.
Where did Jen McCabe get the baby blankets? Because the Albers are in their room hiding. So she didn't run into the Albert's house and go get it. So where did she get baby blankets?
You're aware that that tape was also captured by an open line on Ms. Reed's phone?
Yes.
That open line that phone was dropped inside the cab of an SUV?
It was in the backseat, I believe.
Right. So in order for that open line to capture sort of the background of Ms. McCabe's side of the 911 call, Ms.
Yep.
McCabe would have had to have been either at or in the cab of the truck?
The back of the SUV was open. She was standing there.
Got it. Okay, so she was right next to or adjacent to the cab of the SUV.
She was in back of it with the back was up.
I see that back hatch.
Yes.
Okay. Do you remember Ms. Reed's statement, her initial statement to Officer Sharpe when he got out of his patrol?
I do not.
Do you remember her saying something to the effect of, "My boyfriend, I left him, he never came home"?
I do not.
Okay. Have you listened with audio permission? This is exhibit, it's been previously marked as exhibit 4 in about. Stop. You recognize the video as being, I'd like to ask you. Stop. Did you hear that last statement?
No.
Did you hear woman's voice kind of faint?
I heard the voice, but I did.
Yeah, hospital.
Yep.
And you noted those injuries, correct?
Say it again. I saw it at the hospital, but I don't know if at the scene I saw it.
Fair enough. At some point, you saw that laceration to his right eye?
Yes, I did.
Did you also see a laceration to the left side of his nose, a smaller laceration to the left side of his nose?
I don't recall. I know there was blood coming from here, but I don't know if it was coming from inside his nose or from.
That his left eye had swollen as well.
Now both eyes were swollen and filled with what looked like blood.
And his left eye was black as well as his right eye?
Correct.
Okay. You also indicated that you saw, well, actually, I don't know if you did or not, so I don't want to put words in your mouth. I apologize. Did you see his right arm?
I did.
Did it appear to you that he had some abrasions or lacerations, parallel abrasions and lacerations and punctures on his right arm?